Jason Statham saves a kind dog from giant anacondas in the desert. What he did will shock you. A desert on the edge of danger. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the endless expanse of the desert. The air was thick with heat, shimmering like a mirage on the horizon. Jason Statham, the iconic action star known for his tough guy roles, was far from the glitz of Hollywood. He was deep in the desert, filming a high-octane thriller about a rogue military unit and their loyal K9 companions. But today, the set was eerily quiet. The crew had taken a break, seeking shelter from the relentless heat. Statham, however, was restless. He had always been a man of action, and the stillness of the desert didn't sit well with him. He decided to take a walk, his boots crunching against the cracked earth. The desert was a place of extremes. Beautiful, yet deadly. Serene, yet unpredictable. As he walked, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The usual sounds of the desert, the rustling of sand, the distant calls of birds, were absent. It was as if the land itself was holding its breath. Then he heard it, a faint whimper, barely audible over the wind. Statham froze, his sharp instincts kicking in. He turned his head, scanning the horizon, and that's when he saw it. The encounter, a K9 dog in peril. Lying in the shadow of a rocky outcrop was a Belgian Malinois, its sleek coat matted with dirt and blood. The dog's ribs were visible beneath its skin, and its breathing was shallow. It was clear the animal had been through hell. But the dog wasn't alone. Coiled around it were two massive anacondas, their scales glistening in the sunlight as they tightened their grip on their prey. Statham's heart sank. He had always had a soft spot for dogs, especially canines. They were loyal, brave, and often the unsung heroes of the battlefield. Seeing one in such a state was like a punch to the gut. The anacondas hissed, their forked tongues flicking out as they assessed the new threat. Statham knew he had to act fast. Anacondas were relentless predators, and they wouldn't hesitate to attack him if he got in their way. The rescue, a dangerous gamble. Statham grabbed a large rock from the ground and stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. The anacondas turned to face him, their eyes narrowing as they assessed the new threat. Statham didn't back down. He raised the rock above his head and let out a guttural roar, channeling the same intensity that had made him an action legend. "Back off!" he shouted, his voice echoing across the desert. The anacondas hesitated, their hisses growing louder. But Statham didn't give them a chance to regroup. He hurled the rock at the larger snake, striking it on the head. The anaconda recoiled in pain, but the other one was already moving in. Statham knew he couldn't fight them both. He had to get the dog out of there, and fast. He dropped the rock and ran to the dog's side, kneeling beside it. The Belgian Malinois looked up at him with bleeding eyes, its tail giving a weak wag. "Easy, boy," Statham said, his voice calm but firm. "I've got you." With a grunt of effort, Statham lifted the dog into his arms. The animal was heavier than he expected, but he didn't let that stop him. He turned and began walking back toward the camp, the anacondas slithering after him. A race against time. The walk back to camp felt like an eternity. The sun beat down on Statham's back, and the weight of the dog made every step a struggle. But he refused to give up. He could hear the anacondas behind him, their hisses growing louder as they closed in. Statham knew he couldn't outrun them. He had to find a way to lose them. He scanned the desert, looking for anything that could help. Then he saw it, a narrow crevice in the rocks, just big enough for him and the dog to squeeze through. "Hold on, buddy," Statham said, adjusting his grip on the dog. "We're almost there." He ducked into the crevice, the cool shade providing a brief respite from the heat. The anacondas circled the entrance, their hisses growing more frustrated, but they couldn't follow him inside. Statham waited until the anacondas finally gave up and slithered away. Then he emerged from the crevice and continued toward the camp, his legs trembling with exhaustion. The aftermath, a bond forms. Back at the camp, the crew was shocked to see Statham carrying a bloody dog. They quickly cleared a space for him to lay the animal down, and the set medic rushed over to examine the dog. "He's in bad shape," the medic said, his voice grim. "But he's a fighter. With some care, he might pull through." Statham nodded, his eyes never leaving the dog. He had saved the animal's life, but he knew the battle wasn't over yet. Over the next few days, Statham stayed by the dog's side, feeding him, cleaning his wounds, and talking to him in a soothing voice. The crew started calling the dog Max, after Statham's character in one of his most famous films. It was a fitting name. The dog had the heart of a champion. As Max began to recover, he and Statham formed an unbreakable bond. The dog followed him everywhere, his tail wagging as he trotted at Statham's side. It was as if Max knew that Statham had saved his life, and he was determined to repay the favor. The twist, a shocking turn of events. One evening, as Statham and Max were walking near the edge of the camp, they heard the unmistakable sound of gunfire. Statham's heart raced as he realized what was happening. A group of armed men had infiltrated the camp, their faces covered with scarves. They were looking for something, or someone. Statham knew he had to act fast. He grabbed Max by the collar and led him to a hiding spot behind a stack of crates. "Stay," he said, his voice firm. "I'll be back." But before Statham could move, one of the men spotted him. The man raised his rifle, aiming it directly at Statham. Time seemed to slow as Statham braced himself for the inevitable. Then, out of nowhere, Max leapt into action. The dog charged at the man, his teeth bared as he sank them into the man's arm. The rifle clattered to the ground, and the man let out a scream of pain. Statham didn't hesitate. He grabbed the rifle and disarmed the man, using his years of action hero training to take him down. The other intruders, seeing their leader defeated, quickly fled into the night. The final showdown, man and dog against the world. Statham and Max worked together to secure the camp, their bond stronger than ever. They moved through the chaos like a well-oiled machine, each one complementing the other's strengths. Finally, the intruders were gone, and the camp was safe. Statham turned to Max, his heart filled with gratitude. "You're not just a dog," he said, scratching the animal behind the ears. "You're a hero." Max let out a soft bark, his tail wagging lazily. It was clear he felt the same way about Statham. The legacy, a friendship for the ages. The story of Jason Statham and Max spread like wildfire, capturing the hearts of millions. People were amazed at how a Hollywood legend had formed such an unlikely bond with a K9 dog, and Max's bravery became the stuff of legend. Statham and Max continued to work together, their partnership a testament to the power of compassion and courage. They became symbols of hope and resilience, inspiring others to stand up against cruelty and protect the innocent. And as the sun rose over the desert the next morning, Statham and Max set off on their next adventure, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Because together, they were unstoppable. The end.